So that's a really good place for his knight to be, because it's going to prevent me from capturing his h-pawn, because he'll just take it back, and then he'll be blocking my h-pawn from promoting to queen, and that'll totally stop everything that I try to line up there. So there's really only one move I can make at this point, and that is to get rid of his knight, or to at least get his knight off of that outpost, which is preventing my queen promotion. And the way I do this is to simply sacrifice my knight. I don't care about that knight if I get a queen out of it. So I've sacrificed one knight already. I'll even sacrifice another one in order to get a queen. It's worth it. And in addition to that, he has to address that, because if he doesn't, I'll just take his knight, and that'll accomplish what I wanted anyways, because now his knight will be gone, and I'll still have my knight, and then I'll still promote to queen anyways. But if you look at the other possibilities, yeah, you know, if he for whatever reason doesn't take my knight with his, of course I'll take his, and then I fork him, he's in check, and then I go ahead and take his h-pawn, and he's lost at that point anyways. So he's got to address this in a particular way, and he can't take my knight, because that'll accomplish what I want, and he can't move his knight away to avoid that, to avoid being taken himself, because that'll still accomplish what I want. I just want to get his knight off of this square one way or another, and by moving my knight here to d7, it forces that. So he really only has one move he can make, and that's just to get his king over, because he wants his king close to all this action. Once these knights are exchanged, or whatever happens with them, maybe his king can come over and help to prevent the queen promotion. So that's all he could do. I, of course, followed through with my plan. I don't care. I take his knight. And this is really interesting, and you can tell that the game is lost for black at this point, because look at his next move. Amazingly, I took his knight. He couldn't even accept that exchange and capture my knight back, because he couldn't waste the tempo. If he captures it back, then I obviously will take h7, and then he has nothing he can do to stop my next move, which is h8, queen promotion. So the only possible thing he can do is just bring his knight over, which he had stuck back here on c8 on the back of the board, which is a place you don't want a knight to be. However, when his knight was on that square, and let's kind of back up for a second, that was a good place for him to be, because say none of this action was going on over here, and I decided to run my pawns down on this side, which I clearly had an advantage because I had two open files. Look, my b pawn can't run down because he'll capture it with his knight here on b6, and my a pawn can't run down because he'll capture it over on a7. So that knight was serving a good purpose here, defending against the potential threat of me running these pawns down, but he paid a price for that. Now he can still bring that knight over for his defense, but you can see that now I am actually up in material again. I'm up that initial pawn, because that knight that I sacrificed, I gained it back when he was unable to waste the tempo to take my knight after I took his. And that's really ironic, because previously when I had my knight over here on d7, it was just hanging loose there, and he could have easily taken it, and he still could have taken it. But because that move was so strategic, both times that it was left hanging and undefended, he could not take it, because he just couldn't waste the tempo and risk me promoting to queen, which would certainly happen. Unfortunately, it was going to happen anyway, and black really had no choice. Essentially, if we go back to when I had when I sacrificed my first knight, basically the game was over at that point, because all of these moves were forced. If he had taken this knight here, it would have just been worse, even worse for him. So either way, pick your poison. He lost at that point. Now he moves his knight over. Obviously, he's gonna try to defend, against my queen promotion on h8. And that looks like a solid move. Both of these pawns are doubled up. They're stuck. This h7 pawn can't move up because it'll be captured. But then again, think about it this way. This knight is stuck here. This knight cannot move. As soon as it moves anywhere, boom, h7 to queen. So it is stuck there, and he can't attack. Obviously I could let that situation stay as is, and I could now move the pawns on this side down for queen promotion, and he would be done in that way as well. But I have an even worse move for him planned. Now I take my knight, capture his h-pawn. Didn't really need to do it, but I don't need any more material at this point. I've essentially already won. And look at how perfect this is. I've captured a pawn. Now I've also protected my pawn, which he could have taken on his next move. So, and even if he had done that, I still would have promoted to queen. But this just completely, he has nothing at this point.